Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I won't be doing any driving because there's really nowhere else to go right now. Seems like the border closure has been extended till at least late June. I think it was June 20th or 23rd or something like that. Today I think I'm gonna install my MDPS harness for my Genesis. And what that does is it taps the OpenPilot system directly into the electronic power steering, or Hyundai calls it the MDPS, which is motor driven power steering, I believe. Um, the reason why I want to do that is because the factory steering cutoff for the lane keep assist cuts off at 60 kilometers an hour. So that kind of only lets me use the open pilot system on the highways. I can't really use it in the city or anything. I got all the parts in earlier this week, so I have everything I need to get that installed. But first I need to go out to the car and get the giraffe, which I need to solder into the harness. So let's go. In case you're wondering what this is, that was my old daily driver, Toyota MR2 Turbo. Haven't really driven this in about 10 years. Really don't feel the urge to do it. So a couple of people have been wondering how to get into here, which is where I hid my giraffe and my panda. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to do that. So what you want to do is just pull the weather stripping back. It'll just make it easier to pull it out. And you want to get your fingers in here and just pop that off. It does take a little force. And I also have wires running up this pillar, so we can pop this cover off as well. And then here's where I hid the panda. I did buy some shorter cables. There's this really long USB cable here. It's giving me some charging issues at the moment. That's the giraffe. So this is the giraffe, and here's the panda. So now that I have what I need, let's go back inside and start building. Okay, first we're gonna build our MDPS harness. I have my little white box set up here, so you can see things a little better as I'm building it. I apologize for the humming. I do have a server rack sitting right behind me here, and so let's get started. Okay, so here's everything I need to make my MDPS harness. We have our RJ45 jack, two automotive connectors. They're just 2-pin, so you can see here. So 2 pins, 2 wires, and we need 2 of them. That's a 120 ohm resistor, and this is a 6-pin rocker switch, double pole, double throw. The rocker switch is not necessary. I just wanted to install it so I can easily return it to stock condition if I need to drop it off at the dealership or anything. I don't think I need to turn it off because the code in the Panda should pass everything through, but just in case. And of course we have our RJ45 cable. Figured it's the easiest way to run it to the front of the car. So let's start building. First, we have our RJ45 cable. You notice I already cut the end off of it. I went out to the car earlier and kind of ran the cable along the length of the car to where it needs to be. So the cut end is where I'm going to be installing the plugs, and that will go to the front of the car down by the radiator, and the rest of the cable is going to run along the side and into the dash. So this should just plug in right into my giraffe. So first I'm going to strip some of the sheathing off the cable. That's probably not enough. So here we have 8 wires. And we don't need this little center divider piece, so I'll cut that off in a bit. So we only really need 4 wires here, but I think I'm just going to pair them up. Say the brown with the green, and the white with the brown stripe with the white and the green stripe. So I've gone ahead and twisted the other 4 wires as well, so now I have a total of 4 pairs. And the reason why I chose these colors is because in the car itself, in the MDPS harness that's in the car, the colors are brown and white. So I'm going to have these two, the solid brown and the white with the brown stripe. Those will go to the MDPS harness. These are return wires. These two are so I could put the car into stock operating condition, so it doesn't throw any errors or anything when it's at the dealership. So next we need 2 male connectors. We need these because the plug in the car is female. And we're just going to connect these up and crimp them. Okay, so I've crimped the 2 male connectors onto those 2 pairs of wires. I'll do those ones next. And these ones are going to be female connectors. And there's no technical reason that these have to be female connectors. I just wanted to keep them different from these ones so I don't mix them up. And don't forget to put the waterproofing little grommets here, like I did last time. I had to redo those. Other 2 because I forgot the grommet. So next, we're gonna install those wires into our plugs. And once that is in, just make sure you remember to install the retainer. So the main harness is pretty much done here. Just going to set that aside. Okay. So I've gone ahead and wrapped the connectors up with the electrical tape. I've gone ahead and colored half the connector with pencil. That's just so I know where the colored wire is while I'm hooking it up to the car. So here it is, the completed harness. So next up, we need to make another connector. This connector will go from the harness back into the original location. So I'm just going to use a piece of the extra RJ45 cable here that I've cut off. I cut it off from the harness earlier because it was too long and figured I could just use the extra wiring. So the procedure is going to be the same. I only need one pair of wires, and as you know, the RJ45 is going to have 4 pairs of wires, so there's going to be 8 wires total here. Probably just going to twist together 4 wires to make a single pair. Okay, so I finished the connector. This piece, this end will basically just plug into the harness, just like that. And this end, you notice I didn't put any connector on here because these two pins will go back into the factory connector. So they're female plugs. They're just gonna plug straight in into the factory connector. And this cable should give me stock operation without throwing any error codes. So there's that. And finally I need to connect this up to the giraffe, which is basically just the harness for the panda. So that's where the RJ45 jack comes in and the switch. Always test your parts when you receive them, because when I did a continuity test on this switch, basically in the on position, you would think that these 4 pins would be connected and you would get continuity between these two and these two, but they don't. In reality, when I flip it to the on position, it connects these 2 pins and these 2 pins. So it's just something to remember that these switches are backwards. Okay, so to connect the harness up to the giraffe, I'm going to use the RJ45 jack, some cables, that should be enough cable. And we actually don't need the outer sheathing. Just gonna quickly go ahead and remove that. Okay. So as you may remember, the 2 wires I had chosen to go to the MDPS unit are the brown and the green. So I'm just gonna go ahead and separate them. So I'm gonna keep the 2 solid cables together. I'm going to take the one with the brown wire, put it at number 8 because that's a solid brown. And the second wire, I'm going to connect it up to number 7 because that's the white with the brown stripe. Right. So the other 2 wires I'm going to connect to the blue and the white with blue stripe. So what we want to do now is connect this to the switch. Now we want the two wires going to the MDPS unit, which are going to be 7 and 8. We want those going to the center pins here. Next up is the resistor. So in the on position, remember this switch is backwards. On position. That means it's going to connect the MDPS wires up to the Panda, which is on this side. And that side actually needs a resistor in between the two. So next we need to connect the giraffe or the Panda up to these two pins. So I'm just going to go grab that. Since I don't need to access this part anymore, that looks connected, I'm just going to put the cap on it. Snap that together. And I'll tape it up with electrical tape. Okay, so here's my OBD2 connector. I've already gone and wired up the two CAN 2 wires to my switch. So next I'm just going to solder up this switch and clean up some of this wiring, and I guess I'll cover all this up with some hot glue or something just to keep the wires isolated. Okay, soldering's all done. I'm going to cover up this mess with some hot glue. Okay, and here it is. This is the completed new giraffe, I guess. So Panda goes into the OBD2 connector. The rest of the giraffe goes into RJ45 here. The MDPS harness goes into the other RJ45, and here's the on-off switch. So now that that's completed, I'm going to go install it in the car. Okay, well, that took a lot longer than I thought to install, but I did test it. It works as advertised. I have steering below 60 kilometers an hour all the way down to 0. So I'm pretty happy. I'm sorry I didn't show you any of the test footage with me just driving around for like 10 minutes. I didn't think it was worth the time to hook up the cameras and all that, so it's pretty much all the same as my tuning video, except now it works at lower speeds. But I hope you learned something. As always, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll catch you next time.